So that's the first thing I wanted to point out that's vastly different than our old system. Before, you had to go to your portfolio and then create an alert. No longer. You can do it right here. All right, so let's look at, insider activity isn't always a perfect metric, but it's a decent one. And we've got nearly 70%, 69.01 insiders buying the stock versus 30 selling. So 2/3 buying, 1/3 selling. That's a decent metric there. Revenue growth. Now, stocks trade in line with their revenue. So as long as you see revenue growing with the company, that's a really good sign. And before I get too far ahead of the metrics, let's compare it to Netflix. Netflix, we do not have a ranking for insiders, so we can skip that, but we always have it for revenue growth. Now, Netflix is lower, 3%. So that's one thing to consider. 3% growth versus Roku at 11. All right, let's look at earnings. Very important to start looking at earnings, and you know what? Let's go quarterly. So Roku, we're looking at first quarter of this year, 7.4 billion was revenue. Earnings was a negative. Let's see how many zeros are 193 million, negative 193 million. So their growth in their revenue is fantastic, in terms of the numbers. Now, quarter over quarter, we don't ever analyze that. We always go year over year. So once we see this next column appear, we'll be able to make a more intelligent analysis of a year over year. Actually, let me just scroll down. So we do have second quarter numbers for 2023. And the closest we can compare them to is third quarter 2022. We've got minus $1.26 per share was the estimate. Actually came in at minus 76 cents. So a huge positive plus. And that's why recently Roku had such a big day last week. That's why it was up tremendously. So really outshined in terms of their earnings. Very, very strong. Way better than previously anticipated. Let's go to Netflix and take a look. We've got their second quarter numbers. Wow, 8.1 billion. Let me make sure I'm right there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, it'd be helpful if they had commas in these numbers. 8.1 billion for revenue. Positive earnings. Let's see what that is. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1.4 billion. I mean, these companies are printing money. Huge, huge. So even though you've got a stock at $445 a share, it's just about doubled in the past 12 months. Even though the growth rate is only at 3%.